So what's going to happen with him? Have the Minnesota Vikings seen enough to want to extend him before the completion of the 2020 season? Because if Kirk Cousins has another year like he did have this past year, I think he could demand a lot of money again.
I saw even before the Saints game that they were going to keep Mike Zimmer and try to keep him going forward. His job was safe, and they were going to look to extend him. After the big playoff win, there were a lot of reports saying that the Vikings were going to look to re-sign Kirk Cousins. I think a perfectly fair deal would be 3 years, and that depends on how much of a discount he wants to take, but give him another 3 years at between $22 and $25 million per season. That would put him, I don't even think, in the top 10 of quarterbacks for average annual value, which at that rate is a steal, and then that allows you to retain some of your key players. I would cut Xavier Rhodes.
Really?
I don't know how he made the Pro Bowl. He was the worst quarterback in football. Look at Pro Football Focus.
What? Oh yeah, Pro Football Focus is. What was he ranked there? What was his grade?
I think he was like 87th or something.
All right, but that's a pretty good grade. So I
thought, not 87. No, he was like 114th out of like 118. He was the fourth worst corner according to Pro Football Focus.
And how did this happen? Wasn't he one of the top 4 corners in the league as of a couple years ago?
Just go through like Kyle Arrington, Sterling Moore, Sergio Brown, like every awful Sean Spring, terrible, awful guy would get death taxes and Xavier Rhodes getting toasted for a 50-yard bomb. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it. The Taysom Hill deep pass to get them that score. There was a play against Seattle. There was I think Marvin Jones had 4 touchdowns against him.
Wow.
The worst cornerback in football. Get him out of here.
Is it because he is getting older, or did he lose form, or was he just was he always out on a wing, and then now he's just getting burnt?
He pulled the John Lackey, and I don't know if our listeners remember old John Lackey. But John Lackey was a pitcher for the Angels, Red Sox, and the Cardinals. But what he would do is he would give up a 450-foot bomb and then yell at the freaking center fielder for not jumping high enough. That was Xavier Rhodes. He would get toasted and then yell at his freaking safety, who was not supposed to be where Xavier Rhodes wanted to be, and he'd always blame miscommunication. No, listen, you can't freaking run. He runs like he has a piano on his back. He has no idea which angles to take. He got paid. He got fat and just, ugh.
Now, are you sure that he's out of position? Because the thing about Pro Football Focus is they grade each play that the player is in, but they don't entirely know what the coverage responsibility is. And this was the interesting thing, too, because Pro Football Focus just rated players of the past decade, and I think McAfee won Punter of the Decade. And now Polamalu has been in talks recently, with Hall of Fame and stuff like that, and McAfee was actually saying, because they were talking about Pro Football Focus, and he's saying, yeah, man, if Polamalu was in the Pro Football Focus era and was graded for all his plays, how would he have been graded? And he was talking with Ike Taylor, he's like, yeah, Polamalu's probably out of position half the time, just going on instinct, and then you guys might have to be left trying to cover up for him on the other end, and so then you're out of position because he was out of position. So a lot of times on defense, it's hard to tell. Because
all I know is that Xavier Rhodes fell for every single kind of double move, head fake that you can imagine. Every single time. He was awful. The fact that he made the Pro Bowl it's an insult to anyone who made the Pro Bowl. And the Pro Bowl, I know, is a bit of a joke, but still, it should be somewhat of an honor. And that man is awful at football. Another guy who is good, but I do not want to see paid is Dalvin Cook.
Wow, he was in MVP talks for the first half of the season.
You know my position on running backs, and I watched every snap that team played. That team is every bit as good with Alexander Madison in the game.
Agreed. He was the rookie, right?
He was a rookie. Why am I drawing a blank right now? They had another kid who played their last game, and he scored 2 touchdowns. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank right now. But another running back. You don't give running backs that much money. You just don't. What the Vikings need to do is they need to shore up their depth. I'd pay Everson Griffin, Neil Hunter. Those are your stars. You have Barr. under contract. Eric Hendricks is arguably the most important player. He was the number 2 linebacker in the NFL by Pro Football Focus. He is a must re-sign. I would take all guys over Dalvin Cook. You can find value at that position anywhere. Look at the Super Bowl. You have Mostert and Damian Williams, Shane Georgia jerseys, undrafted running back.
Yep.
You don't need Dalvin Cook. You don't need to pay Todd Gurley. You don't need to pay Ezekiel Elliott. You don't need to pay Le'Veon freaking Bell. Stupid Jets.
Well, so Dalvin Cook, you said, is he a free agent at the or?
He's not a free agent.
So you're suggesting to cut him?
Oh no! Don't cut him. Obviously, no. I would trade him. He has great value. Some stupid team who whips in free agency would be like, yeah, get Dalvin Cook, trade a first or second round pick for him. That's awesome. I would do that in a second.
Now the fullback situation. I'm a huge fullback fan here.
Big CJ Ham fan.
CJ Ham. What has his effect been on whether you could plug in Cook, you could plug in the rookie Alexander Hamilton?
Madison.
You said Madison, right? Alexander Hamilton. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. Yeah, Alexander Madison.
Big treasury guy.
Yeah, of course. So, what do you think the fullback's effect is with combination of the Vikings offensive line? Do you think that is he, we give James Devlin a lot of credit, right? And we saw what happened when he was out last year. Fullbacks are big in this league, I think.
CJ Ham was excellent. Oh, and Mike Boone, that was the other running back that I drew a blank on. CJ Ham was instrumental in the running game. And he also, if you saw Kirk this year, he only threw 26 touchdowns in 15 games, which is good, but they were a lot more effective in the red zone. And CJ Ham caught and ran for a few touchdowns. And that versatility where he's not obviously a force in the running game, but he's a nice change of pace where if you do that little quick handoff to the fullback on the goal line, or if you run that play action play you always do in Madden, where you have everyone going to the right, that spider 2Y banana, and you get to the fullback. And
yep.
He can make a lot of different plays. You can even split him out a little bit at tight end. He's a versatile, really good player. So I think, you know what, hot take, CJ Ham is almost as valuable of the team as Dalvin Cook.
Wow. That is a hot take.
Again, if you told me I could have Madison and Boone and Ham making a combined $6 million, or pay Dalvin Cook $10 million, and then use that extra money to re-sign Hendricks and all these other players and get draft picks and shorten that O-line, because they drafted Garrett Bradbury, who's a center, and they have a pretty good interior line, but their tackles are their weakness. So if you could get a good left tackle and there to protect Kirk, because you give him, honestly, and I'm not just saying this as a biased Kirk Cousins fan, like you said, if the game was 7-on-7, no pressure, I put Kirk Cousins up there with Tom Brady in terms of just purely delivering an accurate, beautifully thrown ball.
Yep, just standing there. Brady stands there like a statue and then just kind of just sets his feet, go, rip it. Kirk Cousins, another guy. I think Kirk Cousins looks good with his form too. He looks like a good passer. So, how many years? If the Vikings don't extend him, okay, let's say he does hit the market. What do you think he could demand in the market in terms of years?
Okay, so he was born, I'm pretty sure, August 19th, 1988.
All right, there we go.
Pretty sure. He was born in the suburbs of Chicago, but he grew up in Holland, Michigan. But that's enough of my Kirk Cousins knowledge. Let's just say this year, let's pencil him in at...
He'll be 32 at the start of the league of the new season. So let's say he'll be 33 when if he becomes a free agent.
Assuming no injuries, and he hasn't missed a game due to injury as long as he's been a starter in the league. It's been 4 seasons.
Right.
If we go and put him on the current trajectory he's at and say 30 touchdowns, 9-10 picks, 4,000 yards, they win 10-11 games. Let's just say they lose in the divisional round again, but he doesn't look terrible, and he gets a playoff win, or even if they make the NFC Championship game, if he pretty much more or less repeats what he did last year, I think Kirk Cousins on the open market, 33, which is not that old. I think you get 4 or 5 years, $175 million. Not all guaranteed, obviously.
Yep, that's pretty good. All right, Kirk. Yeah, 33 is Not old at all for a quarterback nowadays. But
and he's never been hurt. Knock on wood, but he's durable.
Fingers crossed.
And you make fun of him. And yeah, there are times where it's 3rd and 6, and Kirk Cousins, there's green grass ahead of him, and he dives a yard short of the sticks. But if that's what you have to do to kind of preserve your body and live to fight another down, then I'll take that over someone who could get knocked out of the game at any minute, like Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz, as Skip and I call him.
What do you think of Dak?
Deacon Dak?
What do you think happens there? I'm a Dak guy. I'm not Skip Bayless level of love for Dak, but he's a damn good quarterback.
I believe Stephen Jones was asked if he would make a call to Tom Brady, and he said, "No, Dak's our guy. Dak's our guy. We can win a championship with Dak. He's our guy." So it looks like he's their guy. Interesting where his contract is. But I mean, they'll eventually have to give him it.
Yeah, there's no way you can't. I think he led the league in yards, or was it him or Winston? I don't know, but he was up there. Does he have his flaws? Absolutely. Is he a little awry and erratic with his passes? Yes, but I really do think he's a winner. And if you surround him with the right guys, I think he's probably winning a lot of football games with Dak Prescott.
I agree. Now, is Jimmy Garoppolo the new Kirk Cousins?
No, Jimmy Garoppolo's always reminded me of Tony Romo. Injury prone. Both went to is it Northern Illinois or Eastern Illinois? I don't know.
He went to Eastern Illinois.
What?
Jimmy Garoppolo went to Eastern Illinois.
Yeah, they both went to Eastern Illinois. They're both small, relatively small for quarterbacks. They're 6'2", probably 6'1". I really like the way they throw the ball. I think they have kind of like a fluid kind of like flick of the wrist. And they're really good. But I don't know. Garoppolo did actually the opposite of what I expected him. I thought that Garoppolo in the Super Bowl would be more of like remember I was on the pod after Kirk had that really big win against the Cowboys, and he only threw 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, but they won, and they got the win on the road. I expected more of what Garoppolo had done the first 2 games, where he might only throw the ball 10, 15 times, but on the plays you need, he will get you it. Even if it's not spectacular, even if it's a 6-yard slant, he's going to hit his guy. So
Garoppolo, you said you imagined more of a game where, he did miss a wide open Emmanuel Sanders, right? He didn't make the throws that he had to make at the end of the game and in the fourth quarter. And probably one of my most liked and retweeted tweets was, and now I compared him to Kirk Cousins, right? I just did right now. Back in September, when Kirk Cousins, I believe, there was a game he threw like 14 passes. I listened to Pardon My Take, and I said, quote of the day, quote, "You can't let Kirk Cousins, who you pay a lot of money to throw the football, quote. And Big Cat said that. And now, tell me this isn't Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo got paid a lot of money to now not throw the football.
As a Vikings fan who obviously watched that divisional game, they ran 8 plays. It was 8 inside zones in a row, and they drove down the field, and that was when they started to break away. I think there's nothing wrong because not everyone's going to have Patrick Mahomes. Not everyone's going to have Aaron Rodgers. I think pretty much after that, everyone has their limitations. Even guys who are super talented like Wentz and Deshaun Watson have their limitations.
Even Lamar Wilson,
Jackson,
too.
Russell Wilson as well. He's small. Drew Brees is small.
Can't get out of wild card weekend.
Everyone has their limitations. Everyone has their limitations. So there's nothing wrong with playing to your strength. And I still think Garoppolo is a good quarterback. But as I was going through, and I told you briefly the other day, I was going through my quarterback rankings. There is not much differentiation between the 6th best quarterback and the 14th best quarterback. There really isn't, and they're all going to end up getting paid within line of the same amount. Jared Goff has that huge contract. Garoppolo has that huge contract.
Yep.
I think Kirk Cousins is much better than those guys, but he has that contract. Dak's going to get that contract. Wentz. Go through the list. Roethlisberger, when he's healthy, gets it. You go down the line. Everyone gets paid.
Yep.
Everyone gets paid.
And you brought up the idea of Mahomes taking